The president is trying to rile up his supporters as he attempts to win another undemocratic election. In other words, an election where most people say, we don't want you. And because of an aberration in our constitution, he became the president the first time, even though he lost the popular vote by millions. And again, he's losing the popular votes by million, and he doesn't want to get the hell out of the White House. It is important for his supporters to understand that he conned them. It is important to understand why the angst of the Trump supporter, he conned them as he has done over and over again. Let's remember the realities here. Trump made the U.S. mail unreliable. Trump made his supporters fearless of the dangerous COVID-19. Trump showed no care for his supporters as he convinced them to vote in person, because he wanted to show a big first day Trump, like if he's really, really wanted by the people. Trump campaigned as if there was no pandemic, with large rallies that infected over 30,000 people and likely killed over 300 people. 300 of his supporters and others. Trump indoctrinated many of his voters that he had more support than he did. Trump lied to his supporters, telling them if he loses the election, it has to be voter fraud because Mr. Perfect, the people want him. They so want him. They so love him. Trump effectively stopped states from pre-counting mailed-in ballots to give the impression of an initial impressive win, which he got in Pennsylvania, which he got in Georgia, which he got in Wisconsin, which he got in Michigan, because the votes of everybody they were not in. In other words, as he has done in all the fraudulent businesses he formed and bankrupted, he conned his own. He conned his own people. Alternatively, Biden did not put his supporters at risk with large rallies. He had these little things that were ridiculed by Trump. Biden encouraged supporters to vote by mail very early because they knew that Trump really messed up the post office. So he told them, vote early, or put it in those drop boxes, because the president of the United States, he actually sabotaged the mail-in system. That is what we had to live through. Polls show that Democratic versus Republican vote by mail was 79-21 or something like that. 79% or so of Democrats voted by mail, those who voted by mail, and 21% those who voted by mail were Republican. And guess what? As we go through Pennsylvania, as we go through Georgia, those are the kinds of numbers that we're seeing, Democrats versus Republicans, and what the outcome would be. So some say, oh, how can those outcomes be true? Because that is what Donald Trump wanted to see. He wanted his people to vote in person, put most of them at risk in rallies and everything, but he wanted it for him, not for anybody else, for him. He doesn't care about anybody else. As our pandemic rates went up, over 100,000 people getting infected every day. He's not worried about that. He's worried about who he can take a piece of meat out of. He's worried about his election. He's worried about staying in power. No empathy, no compassion for those who are dying. Once again, Trump played with his supporters' emotions by giving the impression that America wanted him. By more than a 4 million voting majority and likely by a 60 to 40% nationally, we do not want a man of his self-centered, lying, unpatriotic, and morally deficient character to be our leader. That should be enough in a democracy, republic or otherwise. We should not have to go through the machinations after winning. We should not have to go through crazy desperation after knowing that most Americans don't want this person. So the one thing I want to say is go out there with our heads up high and make sure it will never be allowed for somebody who didn't win an election to somehow bully themselves into the election because the other side plays nice. this election is over. Vice President Biden is now President-elect Biden. Now let's move on and govern the country. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.